to your microphone. You're good.
All right. Hi, my name is Caitlin Hannigan. I'm the Education Director at Concrete Couch. I'm so glad you guys can join us for our art class today. We're going to be making a mosaic trivet. Hopefully you all have your kits, your mosaic kits that you could pick up from the office here at Pikes Peak Suicide Prevention Organization. In your kit, you will have received various items. First of all, you should have gotten a baggie that would have been green, filled with these tiles, these little tiles. This is what you're going to use to decorate your trivet. You should have gotten a big rectangular tile that looks like this. This is what you're going to build your mosaic design on. In plastic baggies, you should have gotten what we call grout. It's going to look like it's in a red bag, that's the color, and it looks like this grayish powder. This grout is what you are going to use as sort of your glue to stick, that will help the tiles stick on to this big tile to make your design. Oh, sorry, that was my mistake. This is called, I'm a little nervous, haven't done this in a while. This is called mortar. The dark gray is your mortar, and that's what you're going to use today to put your tiles on. So it's going to look the dark gray. Your grout, which is in the red bag, is this light white powder, and you will use that later. So just put that aside, put it away. You don't need it right now. The other thing you will have gotten is a stick, a popsicle stick. This is for stirring and then applying your mortar to your tile. I will show you how we are going to do that. And finally, you got felt. This is to go on the back of your tile at the end of the project. So if you leave this on a wood table or a glass table, it's not going to scratch the surface. It's going to make it so it's nice and soft on the back, so you don't damage a piece of furniture in your house. Now what you should have at home, hopefully, is water. And you need to put a little bit of water, fill up, if you have a plastic container or cup or bowl, you need to fill it with some water just from your sink. So you can use, this is an old cottage cheese container. If you have a plastic cup, anything like that, you can fill it with water. And then you are also going to need, I have just an old t-shirt. You can use a rag of some sort if you can ask your parents. You can use paper towels if you have them, an old t-shirt, an old washcloth, something, because you're going to use it today to clean off your tile when we finish the project so it looks nice and pretty. All right, so today we are going to be making our mosaic trivet. So our first step, and to show you what we are going to finish with, here is an example one of my coworkers made earlier. This is bigger than what you'll make, but that way you guys can all see it. In the end, you're going to have this nice design from tiles that are stuck on with mortar, and you can make the design sort of any different design you want with your tiles, but this is what the finished product is going to look like. The trivet, you can set it on your table or something like that. You can put hot things on it, and it's good for if you made like a bowl of ramen and you don't want to put your bowl of ramen on your table because it might leave a ring of steam or something on the table. You can put it there, and those tiles, because they're made of the material they're made out of, it will absorb the heat, so you can just set it down, your bowl of hot soup or tea or hot chocolate on your trivet, and it's a nice little place to keep it so it doesn't mark up a piece of wood furniture or glass furniture. So your first step, step one to do this, is you're going to mix your mortar so that you can stick your tiles your little tiles onto your backing. So your mortar again is dark gray. You're going to take your mortar and you're going to put a little bit in the back, pour a little bit into a plastic container or plastic cup. So just put in, just so the whole bottom's covered. So you guys who have your plastic bags could put in about a little less than half of it. So here's your mortar. Now you're going to add the water in, but you don't want your mortar to get really soupy. So we're going to add the water in very, very slowly. So I'm going to just add in, you can see just like a little bit of water. So maybe just if you have a measuring spoon, you can use it, just measure in like a tablespoon of water. Take your stick, stir it up. Now if you look at your paste, mine's too dry. Like here's my paste. Mine's a little too dry at the moment. I need a little more water. The texture we're going for is sort of thick peanut butter, if you've ever had that. If you guys eat peanut butter or almond butter, you want it to be sort of a little bit thicker than your peanut butter or almond butter. So you can add another little bit of water. A little more. So it looks, again, like sort of like chunky, peanut butter. About that thickness. Again, you don't want it too wet, because if it gets too wet, it's not going to stick. The tiles aren't going to hold. So about this thickness. Can they see it, do you think? I could come closer. I'll come a little closer. Sorry, put my mask back on. 1 second. So I can come close. Should look about like this. Yeah, it's almost like peanut butter. And so you should have used only about half of the mortar in your bag. So if it's too wet, if you made it a little too wet, you can add some more mortar into your cup. But it should, when you turn it around, see, when you turn it around, it shouldn't come off your stick. It's still holding. So that's about the right texture. If it's dripping off your stick really easily, then you need to add a little more mortar. If you turn it over though and it doesn't fall off, you're good to go. I'll give you a few minutes to mix your mortar all up. All right, so now your mortar's hopefully mixed up. If you need a few more minutes to stir, if it's not the right texture, again, just make sure when you turn it over, hopefully it doesn't fall off the stick. All right, so you can put your mortar aside for a second. Now you've got a baggie of tiles. All of your tiles are different colors, sizes, shapes. You guys, I'm going to give you about 5 minutes or a little longer. You guys get to take all your tiles out and you get to make your own design out, lay your tiles out on this piece. And so you can choose. Some people, like my friend slash coworker Christine, when she did this tile, she just did it sort of randomly. It looks really pretty, but she just did it in sort of a random pattern. If you want to do it with a more regimented pattern, if you want to make a design or something, you can. Most of you guys, you've got clear tiles, you've got some white little tiles, you've got a couple maybe of these blue tiles. So you can choose how to lay out your design however you want. But here you go. So I'm going to do a quick one and show you what it could look like. when you lay out your tiles, you don't want to put them right next to each other, because if you put them right next to each other, they won't actually stick. You need a little bit of space, about an inch, no, not an inch, a quarter to an eighth of an inch between the tiles. So if you put a tile down, you want about, I'm getting close for a second, this much space between them. Just like a quarter inch to an eighth of an inch. So that will be where your mortar and grout go to hold your tiles, little tiles, onto the backing. You can sort through, there's lots of different types of tiles. If you want different colors or different shapes, you can hopefully find them in your little basket, little bag of tiles. And so it's a little bit like building a puzzle piece, to fit all your different pieces together to figure out exactly what design you want. And if you need a little bit more space between some of your tiles, you can totally fit those in. Glass pieces. And you'll get a little glass piece. So when you have finished your design, and can they see the design? Yep. So you can see one of the designs that my co-teacher Cass has made. That's very cool. That's excellent. I'm doing a little bit more of a crowded design with mine. So there's no right or wrong design, but with your tiles you can sort of choose however you want, random patterns. I used a bright blue tile. She found some really cool colors to make the colors sort of in a very neat looking pattern. So everybody can make your own design. The next step is we're going to have to start applying our tiles, putting our little tiles on using our mortar. So your mortar's been sitting there for a few minutes. It's still fine. You don't want your mortar sitting out all night because then it will dry out and not be good, but it's only been sitting for a few minutes. So we're going to do a nice stir on it, make sure it's ready to go, and then you're going to take some onto your stick. Now the first thing you're going to do is you're going to decide which piece you want, which end you want to start with your tile. So I'm going to start on this end. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take off a few of my pieces of tile and I'm going to put my mortar and smear it onto my tile, and just a thin, nice thin layer of mortar onto my tile. The rule when doing mosaic is mortar has to go onto mortar. If you put a tile on, if I just put the mortar on the back of this tile and then try to stick this on, it won't stick together. Mortar sticks to mortar. So you put the mortar down on your tile. So now your tile sort of looks like you smeared, you know, butter on bread or peanut butter on your bread or cream cheese on your bagel. So you got a nice thin layer of mortar. Then on your tile, whichever tile you chose, and if it's changed a little bit, that's okay, you're going to put a little bit of mortar on the back of your tile. Like this. Put a little bit of mortar on the back of your tile. Then you're going to set your tile back onto the mortar and you're going to push it down. Push it down pretty hard. Use your hand and just push it in there. Now if you're like me, I have a bunch of, see how I have a bunch of mortar sticking out because I put a little extra mortar on? That's fine. I'm going to take my stick and I'm just going to take off that extra mortar using my popsicle stick. So I can scrape off all my extra mortar like that. So there you go. That's how you apply your tiles. Now I'm going to do it for my next tile. I'm going to put a little bit of mortar on the back of my little tile. And my parents would laugh at me because I am a messy person whenever I'm doing anything. Cooking, art, mortar, I get it all over my hands. So if you get a little bit on your fingers, that's okay. I'm going to stick my next tile on my mortar. And then again, make sure I push it down and make sure it's pressure, and then see, when I hold it up, that tile's stuck mortar to mortar, it's stuck in, it's nice and neat and ready to go. And if I have some on the sides, if I want to, again, I could use my popsicle stick and just clean off that extra mortar a little bit. So remember the rule when you are applying tiles to your backing. The most important rule is mortar sticks to mortar. So make sure you have mortar on this, and then make sure you also have mortar on the back of your tile. If I just go like this, it's not going to stay on forever. It's going to fall off. I need to go like this first, put my mortar down. Nice layer of mortar down. Then I put my mortar on the back of the tile, so there's mortar sticking to mortar. If you get a little bit of mortar stuck on your tile like that, that is fine. That is why we have a little rag or piece of paper towel for at the end. We can clean off your tile. So don't worry if you get a little messy and you end up with mortar on top of the tiles, things like that. That is an easy cleanup at the very end before we finish. So the big thing is make sure you have your mortar smeared onto the back of your little backing. Put it onto the back of your tile. And if you put a little too much on, that's fine. You can scrape out the extra. And then if they have questions, how are we going to do that? Is there anyone typing in questions at the moment?
Not at the moment, but if someone has a question, they can type it in and we can see it.
All right, this is our first class, so we're all learning how to use this new technology. which, you know, it's very exciting to have in these interesting times. So if you have a question about what we're doing, and if you're confused by anything I'm saying, please, you can type in your question, and do they call you Miss Cass?
You could just say Cass.
Okay. Cass is going to tell me that there is a question, read it to me, and then I can answer it. So feel free. This is something new, I think, for a lot of you guys. So if there's something that is not clear, please let me know, and I will answer your questions and help you guys out. So right now what you're doing is just sticking your tiles onto your backing in whatever design you want. And if your design you started with, if you sort of changed it, that is absolutely fine. This is kind of a fun process because whatever you do, it turns out looking beautiful. So if you decide, you know what, instead of going straight, I'm going diagonal. Instead of diagonal, I've decided to make everything straight because it's easier. That is absolutely fine. So I'm putting my mortar down on my back. I'm going to do a different design than I thought because my design kind of forgot what it looked like. So I'm going to stick some I'm going to do this one. I think I need a smaller one to fit there. I'm going to use a small glass one in there to fit that space. And remember, when you're putting your tile on, remember you just put a lot of pressure on, push it on, make sure it's sticking there. You want it to stick nicely in there. I'm going to put my middle tile on, I think. Put the mortar on the mortar. Put my mortar on the back. Stick that guy on, so in the middle, because it's a bright blue, so he sticks out. Make sure he's nice and on there. This one I did a bunch of extra mortar in the end, so I can clean some of that off with my stick.
So for everyone tuning in today, part of what we're trying to do is to make sure that you guys have some art activities or different leisure activities that you can do at home, especially during this time of having to quarantine or isolate. And so Caitlin, if they decide like, I really love Mosaic, I want to do this again, where can they get more supplies like these?
Okay, so we have at Concrete Couch with mosaics, we can always provide you guys with more supplies to do different types of mosaics. These are like the basic intro to mosaic. This is called a trivet. You know, it's very simple because it's flat and it's, you know, it's not a set design yet. Sometimes it can get very complicated when people do murals of like trees. And so this is our first basic mosaic. So if you want to do a mosaic, another mosaic project, you can reach out to me, Caitlin, I'll get a pen again. You can do it right here. CAITLIN at concretecouch.org. And there are two ways we can do it. If you'd prefer to do a take-home mosaic, we can set up a more complicated kit for you so you can keep working on mosaic, which would be great. We love having different mosaic projects. The other way you can do it, if you reach out to us at Concrete Couch, we also have ongoing programs. So if you're comfortable doing something outdoors in a small group setting with masks, so usually we limit our groups to 5 people. You're outside so you can be 6 feet apart. We do have art projects that we will do on our land. We have a outdoor park we're working on. So if you want to come do that, again, you can reach me and ask, and we will email you details about a project if you're looking for an even bigger project that you don't do at home.
So this is a great resource for all of you parents that have kids at home right now who are remote learning. Concrete Couch can absolutely host small groups in very COVID safe ways, especially if you're from the same household. They have an outdoor area where they're doing a lot of art projects right now. They provide all of the materials, and all you have to do is reach out to Caitlin, and she can help get you set up. She can even schedule something special just for your group, whoever it might be. But part of what we're doing here each Saturday for the next 5 Saturdays is just bringing you different projects so that, you know, if you're feeling stressed out, you could turn on some music. You could take these pieces. Maybe you have a plan at the beginning. Maybe the design just comes to you as you go, but it's just a nice outlet for all that stress, or if you just need something to do because you're bored out of your mind, this is a great project that you can safely do at home. I'm sure you can also get additional materials from any hobby or art store if it's something that you are like, this is just going to be part of my life. And that's what we're hoping. We're hoping that you can find some art activities that you can do ongoing on your own and create some really beautiful masterpieces at home. So thank you to Caitlin and Concrete Couch, and we'll keep working.
Yes. So yeah, all of these materials, Cass brought up a great point. All of these materials, if you want more of them, you can get tiles. Come again, email me, say I need more tiles. I will, we can set up a little kit for you. You can come by the office and pick it up. You don't even have to talk to people if you're worried about COVID. You can come to the front porch. We'll have a little box with your name on it. You can come pick up a new mosaic kit. If you just want to go out and get your own supplies, the backings that you guys got are just little commercial tiles. You can pick them up at any Home Depot, Lowe's store, Habitat, the Restore, that is for Habitat for Humanity. You can get tiles there for very inexpensive prices. And you can also get, again, these littler tiles at any home improvement store. At the Restore, you can get them, and you can get a bunch of them. But if you want to get them from us, we are happy to provide them for you. The water is, of course, hopefully you all have water at your homes. Mortar and grout. The mortar you can pick up, again, we get ours at Home Depot usually. Lowe's has it too. You can get a bag from there, and then popsicle sticks you can use. And for the mortar tools, if you don't have a popsicle stick, you can use like a plastic knife or something like that too. If you have those at your home, those are another easy way to apply the mortar. So hopefully you guys are slowly getting your designs done. If you finish it and you want to show it via your video feed to your fellow participants to see what designs they all came up with, feel free to do that as you wrap up your design. I know Cass showed off her very cool design she finished. I got distracted, so I actually have to finish mine. Let me get mine finished, and mine's a little just more random at the moment. But yes, mosaic's really fun. If you want to see some of the projects we've created, Concrete Couch has done the mosaic. There's downtown, the mosaic pumpkin. If you want to see one of our big projects, it's about 12 feet tall. It's at Nevada and Vermejo. You can see that's a whole mosaic project with tiles, exactly what you're doing, just in a 3D shape. If you look around town, there's also mosaic. You can do mosaic signs, like if you drive by Community Prep School or Crawford House downtown, there's signs we've done those. They're mosaic signs that label the location. We've made benches, so you can build a bench and then decorate it with mosaic designs. So mosaics used all over the place as a different in different forms as a way to make things more beautiful. So again, I'm a messier mosaic person, so I have a little bit of mess on my tiles. So again, making sure to put some mortar down on the bottom so the mortar will stick to mortar. Spread it all around. Put some more tiles down. Here we go. Squish. Get that tile applied. See if that fits. There, yep. A littler guy there. So I'm just picking different colors right now to sort of have a different variety of different colors on my tile now. Have some gold. So I have a gold one on the bottom too. And so I'll put a brown on its border. That seems to go with my pattern. So Cash showed you a really good example of one that was very organized, neat, and very cool pattern. Mine's more abstract, so here's my finished product. You can see mine's a little more random because I was just putting tiles I thought were cool in different spots. So you can see mine's a little more abstract, but that will work too. It's still really pretty. I think it's very cool. It's just different. So this is what you should have hopefully in a few more minutes. We'll give you a little more time. This is new, applying the tile, so I'm betting you guys need a little more time. If you've finished and you want to do a little bit more work, like I said, I like to put a little more mortar on my tiles, so I have a bunch of mortar that's sort of in between my tiles at the moment. So you can use your popsicle stick and start cleaning it up. So what we call our joints, the spaces between the tiles, have a little less mortar in them, so there's room for the grout. So some people, I know my colleague Christine, who does mosaic, she ends up with really neat and tidy joints that don't have a lot of extra mortar, but I like to make sure mine sticks, so I put a little more mortar on my tile, so I end up with a little bit messier in the end. The final thing, see, again, I'm a little messier in everything I do, is your tiles should look like this. You know, you have it all stuck, they're not moving, looks great. There's space between your tiles for the grout, but, you know, not a ton of space. You don't want like only three tiles on your trivet. That is just not that, but they still won't hold on. You need, you know, enough tiles on that the grout will, you know, keep these tiles on. So if you only put 3 on your tile, the grouts just, you know, they're going to fall apart quicker probably. So hopefully you put on 10 or so tiles so they all will stick with the grout. And again, some of you might have a little bit messier tops. If you do, this is where, get a piece of paper towel or a rag, washcloth, or a t-shirt, dip it in your water. You just need a little bit of water. and just wipe off the tops of your tiles with it really quick. That way when you grout it, it will be easier to grout when you have a little bit cleaner tops. You can just really quickly wipe off your tiles so they're a little bit cleaner. There you go. So your tiles should look basically like this. Got all your tiles set, mortar's there. All right, and cool pattern, however you did it, abstract, you know, more organized design. All of your tiles should be ready to go. Now the final, there's a couple more steps we're going to do. I'm going to do the final step you'll do today with these tiles after you finish your design with the mortar. You need to leave your tile for about 12 hours. That lets the mortar cure so that your tiles aren't going to move anymore very easily. So leave your tiles somewhere in a warm, dry location. Don't set it outside probably overnight because that mortar needs to stay below, above freezing temperature. So if you put it outside tonight, if it goes below 32 degrees, your mortar might, again, not cure correctly and crack a little bit. So when you finished this part, we'll do one more step, and then after this next step, leave it for 12 hours. And then you guys will then grout your tiles, which I'm going to show you to do, but you'll need to do tomorrow, or you know, if you have free time in the next week after you finish all your homework and online classes, you can do it then. It won't take very long, but you're going to have to wait and let this dry for 12 hours. All right, our final step for today, and if you haven't finished your design, I bet a bunch of you are still working. Should I give them a few more minutes to finish design?
Well, they can always come back to the Pikes Peak Suicide Facebook page and hit the video again.
Okay, so yes, we're going to go on for showing you. I totally actually forgot. Do you have glue? I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Okay, so all of you guys, sorry, the one thing I forgot to mention is hopefully you have a glue stick or some Elmer's glue or any type of glue. If you have a parent who has some wood glue, anything like that, any type of glue, you're going to need a little bit of glue for this final step today. Awesome. Perfect. So hopefully you have glue, and if you can't do this step again, you can come back to this video later. After you go out, you can get a glue stick at Walmart for like less than $1. We found that out. So if you don't have one, you can go find a glue stick or borrow one from, you know, if you are going sometimes to school, a teacher might let you take home a glue stick for a day. Put your glue on the back of the trivet. Sorry, this needs to be out a little bit. You can use a glue stick. If you have glue in a bottle, you can use that. Whatever glue you have. We're just going to be gluing our fabric so that when you put it on a piece of furniture and leave it there and maybe someone else yanks it off, you're not going to scratch up that piece of furniture. So we're going to put some felt on the back of our trivet. So you put some glue on it. Then what you're going to do is you're going to just stick your trivet onto your nice piece of felt. Just push it down like that. And then what you can do, so you don't have your felt hanging all the way off your back of your trivet, you can take, I do believe, I did remember the scissors. Take scissors, and again, any type of scissors works, and you can just cut your felt so that you don't have, and you can leave your felt, you can leave your felt hanging off the back if you like that look, but if you'd rather have that felt, you can just cut your felt off like that. So here's what it should look like. Now, one of the that some people have when doing mosaic is, what if one of my tiles falls off? Like mine, this tile, I just popped it off. That's totally fine. You can use your mortar, and if you have, if your mortar's dried out, you can mix, hopefully you guys still have a little bit left, you can mix up a little batch and just put your tile back on. This tile for me was a little bit, I guess I didn't apply it completely right, so I'm going to put mortar back on my trivet, mortar back on my little tile, some fresh mortar there, smush them together, and that tile's back on. So it's not a big deal if maybe the first time around 1 or 2 tiles didn't get stuck on all the way. You can redo it. It's really easy. So if there's dried mortar, just take the tile off, put new fresh wet mortar on, re-stick it on, it's good to go. Now that one's not going anywhere anymore. So for whatever reason, that little tile I put on didn't stick on as well the first time, so you can redo it, no problem at all. All right, so now my tile's all ready to go. I've got my felt on the back, so when I leave it on my wooden coffee table or glass table or somewhere, it's not gonna scratch up the bottom of that wood or glass, and so that felt helps protect your bottom. All right, this is the final step for your trivet. This step, again, you guys have to wait 12 hours, so you can do it tomorrow or sometime next week whenever you have a spare moment. The last step, though, we're going to do is grout in these tiles so they don't move, and this trivet should last you years and years to come. So your grout is in the red bag, and it's usually going to be this lighter colored powder. So you should have a little bag of lighter colored powder. So tomorrow or next week, you're going to take another plastic container or cup, whatever you have around the house, and you're going to pour a little bit of grout into your cup. Again, just like with the mortar, just a little bit, half the bag. You're going to again add your water, and you have a second popsicle stick. So you're going to take with your second popsicle stick, you're going to add a little bit of water. And again, you don't want to dump the whole thing in because then your grout's going to be way too liquidy. So again, if you have a spoon or something, you can scoop a little bit out. If you don't, you can just pour, a little bit in, just a little bit. Pour in less than you think you should because you can always add more water. You can't take it away though. So you pour a little bit in, stir your grout with your popsicle stick. And I actually added too much water, which is totally fine because you shouldn't have used all your grout at first. That's why we hold about half the grout left in our bag. So for me, I did add too much water still. So you could see I only added a little bit. It was still too much. So I'm going to add some more grout, little bit of grout. And then I'm going to mix it again, stir it up. And the grout should be a little bit thinner than your mortar. So your mortar should feel like peanut butter, a little bit heavy and thick. Your grout, we say, should feel a little bit more like yogurt. It can be a little runnier. So if it's a little wetter, that's okay. It makes life easier when you're applying it. You still don't want it to be like chicken broth or something really wet. We want it to be a little thicker, more like a texture of a yogurt. So if you look at it, you can see about that thickness. So if you turn it over, it still isn't drooping off, but it's a little bit thinner than my grout, a little thinner than my mortar. So you stir it up like that.
Turn your bowl a little bit more.
Like that. Stir it all up. And this is more than enough grout for your tile. So again, if you completely miss up, the first time you do it, put just a little bit of the grout into your container, add a little bit of water. So if you mess up, you should in your bag have plenty to redo it, to add more, to make it a little bit thicker if it gets too wet. All right, but so here you go. Should look a little bit like yogurt though, that grout. Then, with your grout, this is the part that's a little bit tricky. Grout, to make it sure it holds all those tiles in, it does have a little bit of chemicals in it. So if you get a lot of grout on your hands, we just advise you to quickly wash them off in the sink. It's not going to do harm, but if you get a lot of grout on your skin, if you don't wash it off, you might get a little rash or something on your hands. So try to avoid getting it on your hands. And if it does happen to get on your hands, like if you do like this and get some on your hands, just run to the sink or rinse it off in the water very quickly and you'll be fine. But take your popsicle stick, and you can put a lot on it, and then you're just going to use your popsicle stick, sort of like a butter knife, and you're going to smear your grout, and I'm doing it when your tiles are still wet. You should wait until they're dry, but I'm going to do it now. You're going to smear your grout onto your tiles. And it's going to cover those tiles, make them completely cover. See, my grout's going all over my tiles. So I'm going to smear my grout on with my popsicle stick, just like you would smear butter or peanut butter on bread, and cover all your tiles and get all that grout into all those spaces between your tiles. So here you go. You can see I'm putting grout all over my tiles. And I've got grout in all these spaces. See, I've smeared my grout so that all the spaces in between the tiles are covered. See others, but also most of my tiles are now covered with grout too. So I'm smearing it all through there. So now it's got grout all on my tiles, which is great. But there's a problem. What's the new problem? Can you see my tiles? No, the design's pretty much gone. Now it just looks like this big white tan mess, right? So I made like I said, I'm very messy. So I have some grout left over here. So I'm just gonna scoop that off with my popsicle stick. And so I'm gonna smear this grout all over my tile, and now I made a mess. And see, I've got grout on my fingers a little bit. Try to avoid that, but again, if you can't, that's why we have a nice bucket of water. Dip your hands in, rinse off that grout, wash off your hand, you're good to go. So now I've got my tile is all covered in grout, right? And it doesn't look so pretty anymore. It kind of looks like a beige mess now. So the final step is you take your rag, you're going to get it wet with some water. You want to make sure it gets water, but then you want to make sure this important step. If you just take your wet rag and then you dump it on your tile, it's going to put too much water in your grout, and it's not, again, your tiles aren't going to hold very well. So after you get your rag wet, make sure you squeeze it pretty well. So now your rag, your paper towel, your rag, whatever you have to clean your tile, it's wet, but it's not dripping wet. It's not soaking wet, because if you put a soaking wet towel onto your tile, it's going to add too much water to that grout. But my rag is wet, but not dripping on the table wet. Then I'm going to take my rag, and then I'm just going to wash my tile off. So to wash it off, then I'm going to need to rinse it out in the bucket. Squeeze, get all that excess water out, squeeze it so. Then I have a new cloth all ready to go, and I'm going to wipe my tile off again. And I'm going to do this a couple more times. I'm going to do it probably 5 or 6 times so you can see, but as you can see, as I wash my tile off, look what starts coming. you can see my tiles again. So in the end, you're going to have and this is still, I might clean it a few more times, but you can see, and so the more you clean it, the better your tile will look at it. But if you're in a hurry and you want to clean it, 5 or 6 times, that's fine. If you want to clean it 10 times, it's going to end up shinier and prettier in the end, but that is up to you time-wise. But in the end, you can see, I can see all my tiles. I've cleaned off all the grout, but then all these joints, the spaces between the tiles, are now filled with this grout. So now after this dries again for another 12 to 24 hours, this nice mosaic trivet should be very sturdy. So if I want to put something, big bowl on it, put something else, a mug on it, the tiles aren't gonna fall off it. They should stay on for years and years. So that is what your finished product should look like, a little bit cleaner, hopefully, the grout a little bit cleaner off the top. But remember, the final step, grouting that I just showed you, you can come back to this video and watch later. You should do it tomorrow or next week sometime after your tiles have dried a little bit more. All right. Next week will be collages. We're going to have, you guys will get collage packets. You have magazines, glue sticks, colored paper. We're really excited to be teaching you guys that. If you have any questions, if you have some problems with your trivet, if you need more help, you can email me and I will get back to you with questions. Again, if you want to do another mosaic project, we would love to have you at the Concrete Couch. Just again, email us and let us know. I want to do another kit and we'll make you one. Or if you want to come down and do something face-to-face in person on the land and there's 2 or 3 of you who want to get together, just say, Caitlin, we have 3 of us who met and did your class. We really loved mosaic. We want to do, a bigger mosaic project. Can we do that? And we'll be happy to arrange it for you.
So anybody watching from home today, if you are interested in doing this project, we still have some art kits here at Pikes Peak Suicide Prevention. We are located at 704 North Tejon Street. You can call ahead at 719-573-7447 and you can do a curbside pickup of that art kit. Or if you shoot us an email or give us a call, info@pikespeaksuicideprevention.org, we can even arrange to have art kits for these weekly art groups delivered to your home. We want to make this as accessible as possible. We want you guys to have things that you can do to spend your time in a healthy way while you're at home, and things that you can do ongoing and maybe even share with your friends and family. So if you have any questions, please reach out to us at Pikes Peak Suicide Prevention. Thank you again to Caitlin and Concrete Couch. We'll be here every Saturday from 1 to 2 on our Facebook Live. And if you want to get the kit ahead of time so you can follow along, just get in contact with us sometime during the week before Saturday. Thanks so much, and you guys have a great weekend.